As my dad has already explained, Victoire Cappe played an important role in formation of the YCW, and so I'll not go into that into much detail. My mission here today is to tell you who Victoire Cappe was, and hopefully get you to bring something home with you. Like its title, my presentation is organized into 3 sections. I will first talk about Victoire's life and work, then I'll briefly touch on the methods she used, and lastly, I'll move to a connection to Cardijn. As you can see, Victoire was born in spring 1886 in the town of Liège, which was in those days a stronghold of Catholic social action. However, her father was a Freemason, and thus she didn't receive any religious instruction until she was 15. By then, her father had abandoned the family for Greece, and Victoire and her sisters had to move back to live with their maternal grandmother. And here's where it gets interesting. Despite being from a bourgeois family, Victoire's grandma had no regard for false prejudices based on distinctions of social class, and as a widow of a winemaker, she would visit the workers of the wine distillery and their families. Often, she would bring young Victoire with her on these visits. What you see is that Victoire gained a sense of social responsibility, essential equality, and the need of rapprochement of the classes at an early age. Rapprochement means making the classes closer. As you'll see later, these were the values that went on to mark all her social action. At the age of 15, she entered the Catholic Normal School of Liège, where she became acquainted with the Catholic faith and decided to convert. It is also here that she met Father Bess, which had a great impact on the direction of her work. It is thanks to him that she became familiar with the application of the social doctrine of the Church, as well as the social tenets of the Sillon, which was a prototype for the YCW. Father Bess also introduced Victoire to the Gigacz sisters, who would go on to become the first benefactors of her work. It was also at this time that she began to join study circles and get involved in these movements. Before I move on, I think it's important to note that Father Bess played an important role in Victoire's life path. On multiple occasions, she mentioned her wish to become a religious nun, but Father Bess told her the workers needed her more. And so, through Father Bess, she got to know many key people who would go on to play an important role in her life. In 1907, as you can see, at the age of only 20, with the help and encouragement of the Gigacz sisters, which I mentioned earlier, Victoire founded the Syndicat de l'Aiguille, which is in English called the Needleworkers Union. The idea was based on its French counterpart, which she had come to know again through some friends of Father Bess. There is a short story of how the union started. In February 1907, Victoire published in a local Christian newspaper a public call to the needleworkers. The slogan she used was, "Help yourself and God will help you." The Gigacz sisters helped her very much in this starting up of the union. They printed 1,000 invitation cards and distributed them to the local people. Yet when the day came for their first meeting, only 5 people turned up. Victoire, very disappointed, explained the project to them and asked them to bring their friends the following week. This time, there were 23, and so the movement kicked off. But I think it's a good example of her talent in speaking and leadership, how she managed to convince them to bring more people the following week. To give you an idea of what the union did, I have listed some of the things they did here on the slides. Because close cooperation of the diverse classes was among the implicit ends, honorary members from outside the trade were also omitted, although the numbers were limited. Victoire was very careful to keep this element in the background, and there seemed to be a deliberate tendency to arrive at the eventual independence of the workers themselves. In the same way, although Victoire herself was the main actor in setting up new groups, her principal concern was developing an elite among the workers themselves to take leadership of the trade unions. And one of the ways these leaders were trained was through the setting up of study circles. Victoire traveled frequently to spread these ideas, and in 1909 Victoire spoke about the formal and social formation of women at an important French Catholic Congress called the Congress of Malines, which you see up here. In this speech, she laid out the following methodology that you can see on the screen, which is the method the needle workers used themselves. I believe those of you familiar with the YCW will notice its resemblance to the methods you used. In 1911, Victoire Cappe gave another speech entitled Le Salaire Féminin, which in English is Feminine Salary. The presentation was again divided into 3 sections. This time, she labeled them the facts, principles, and remedies. A remarkable thing to take note of here is that in 1914, she published a book in which she compiled some of these speeches that she made, as well as articles of people she worked with. The book was called The Belgian Woman, and the articles also give us a good picture of her ideas and her ideals. So how did Victoire come to work with Cardijn? To explain this requires a little backtracking. In 1909, she attracted the attention of Cardinal Mercier with a speech at the Congress of Malines, which I explained earlier. He noted her talent for leadership and encouraged her to pursue a more thorough education. He took it upon himself to provide her with a solid foundation in philosophy and theology, but also introduced her to Victor Brans for training in the social sciences. Victor Brans, who was also Cardijn's mentor, was another key person in Victoire's life, who not only offered her intellectual knowledge but also emotional support and encouragement throughout the course of her life, as Victoire was often depressed. Following this formation, Cardinal Mercier asked her in 1912 to take responsibility for developing women's social works in Belgium. And at this point, she was appointed to a high office in Belgium, and we'll see the connection with Cardijn. And so it is not surprising with the background that in 1912, when Cardijn was posted to Laken as vicar, and finally got the opportunity he had been waiting years for to do the work he dreamed of, the first person he contacted was Victoire. He had previously met Victoire through Professor Maurice de Fourny, who had given his name to her when she was looking for someone to give a lecture on trade unions at one of her study circles. So together with Cardijn, she helped develop the first teams of teenage female workers in Laken, which went on to grow and spread. Secondly, she helped train several young adult women in their 20s who became mentors to these groups, including Madeleine de Roux, who was one of the most significant founders of the female YCW. What I realized in preparing this presentation was that Victoire's link to Cardijn is very hard to trace. She is known for her work with the Needleworkers Union as well as an important advocate of Christian feminism of her time. Yet very little research seems to have been done on her impact on the YCW and her connection to the Gigacz methodology. Yet there is no doubt that Cardijn considered her an important collaborator. It is very clear in one of Cardijn's interviews how he was very impressed with her work. I will, at the end of the presentation, show you a quote that shows this clearly. An example of how closely she worked with Cardijn is the 3-rule method that you see on screen. They were developing this method together at a conference in 1912. Unfortunately, Victoire's mental health was quickly deteriorating. So the end of her life was marked by various conflicts with previous colleagues and a gradual withdrawal from the work she pioneered in the 20s. She suffered from depression throughout her life, possibly as a consequence of her tormented childhood. But towards the end, it had become severe enough that it influenced her mental conditions and thoughts. The end of her life ended abruptly. Her life ended abruptly in 1927 when she died of a glandular disturbance. As you have seen, Victoire dedicated her life to Christian feminism, and at her death, Cardijn, very emotional, made this statement. Those who have lived through the heroic years of the beginnings of the women's social movement will recognize without hesitation that this movement would not have existed without this pioneer of the apostolate among women workers. As one writer says, it is impossible to go through each and every initiative that Victoire was part of in the way that her biographer, Denise Kiemolen, does. I found it overwhelming myself when I was preparing this talk, the number of organizations and people she worked with. But I hope this simple talk was able to give you a basic appreciation for her work as a lay leader and as one of the key persons in the establishment of the YCW. In closing, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share about Victoire Cappe. My baptism and confirmation name is Victoire, and it is only through the preparation of this talk that I have come to truly appreciate what it means to carry this name. Thank you.
Well, how's that for a tag team performance?
Of course.
So they're having jointly presented to jointly take questions or comments. You could stand up and nice and loud. Thank you.
For ERB, who announced this session, who do you consider the later